I'm Michael Eldrige, and I'm here to demonstrate to you guys a few techniques and some of the things you need to start out catching fish at your local fishing hole. Right now I have a line rigged up with a plastic worm. It's rigged Carolina style with a split shot, about 1.5 foot loop. This is used to create a little bit of racket to attract the fish, and then they'll see this floating on top of it, and they'll bite this as a byproduct of this. You can use a bullet weight and a glass bead. That's a little bit more of a more expensive setup. This is very simple and cheap, but works just the same. You can see I've got my worm rig here, weedless style, so you can toss it just about anywhere. You can also rig this Texas style or wacky style, and that just means put the hook straight through the center of the worm and let the worm act naturally. Here I have a couple other plastic baits that are pretty common. A lizard with a blue tail and a white fluke. These are a couple of my favorites. They don't always work. It's just a matter of experimenting and finding the right lure at the right time of day. And a lot of times you will end up catching a good-sized fish, and y'all can look at those. On this pole I have a typical hard bait. This is a topwater frog. You use this to, you want to use this usually at the beginning of the morning or in the afternoon when fish are out hunting baby shad. This is a great lure to catch big fish. You might not always get one. They don't catch as many fish as a plastic worm or a rubber worm or lizard or fluke, but they do usually produce only big bass when you're trying to get them. The rods I'm using, this is a closed face bait caster. This is a simple setup. It's easy to cast. This right here, this is an open face. It's a little more difficult to use, but it's smoother and it's more sensitive, so you can feel a bass bite it very easily, especially since you're fishing underwater and on logs and rocks. You're going to want to be able to hear and feel anything that touches the end of your line. Also, you want to have a good pair of needle nose pliers when a fish gets the hook down in its mouth. You don't want them swallowing it. You always want to have this to tie lures and make the job a lot easier. Some polarized sunglasses. Those are very, very handy. They allow you to see almost directly down in the water. These are black lenses, but you can have the copper lenses. And on a cloudy day, those are really better. You can see straight into the water. This worm, on a day like today when it's windy, you're gonna want to try to cast it towards a tree and retrieve it slowly. I mean, you gotta think like this is a snake, and it's gonna be coming off the water, off the land into the water. So you want to portray it as live as possible, and that's what I'm going to try to do and demonstrate to y'all right now. Now when I get this in the water, you want to twitch it slowly, and you want to let the bait do most of the work. I mean, it's what it's meant for. As long as you have this up there and you put it around the fish, they should bite it. So let's see. If you can see, I'm going to cast it over, try to get it off the tree stump if I can. Hopefully, I think there's a fish there, but I'm not sure yet. See, that was a pretty good cast. A lot of times you can take a worm like that and they'll actually skip like a rock. You can throw it really hard and they'll skip it, and you skip it clean anywhere you want to. See, right there I had a good bite and I missed it. That was my fault. That was bad technique. What I did there was I was talking to you and I was turned around. I wasn't paying attention to the fish. I also had my rod tip way too high, so that was bad. A lot of times, even it's personal preference, I'll even close my eyes when I'm reeling it in, so I have all my senses focused on this worm. And I can tell if it's a fish. That helps me distinguish between a fish or a rock or a stump. Let's try it again, see if he'll bite it. See, that was almost a perfect cast. That's exactly what I wanted. I'm going to keep my rod tip down. I'm going to work it slow, and maybe he'll bite. Another thing is, I know there's going to be a fish here. That's why I choose this spot for the video. And I've already missed him, so I doubt I'll catch him. That's a perfect example of experience being key. I knew there was going to be a fish there, so that's where I go to first. I went to the lure that I knew usually catches fish. If you record your wins and losses where you fish, what time of day, and that'll make you a better angler for sure. Also, when you're shopping for lures, a lot of going to the store, a lot of those things look very appealing, and they're also very expensive. I mean, $8, $9, $10 a lure. Some of them nowadays are even $15. I mean, and that's a lot for something that you may cast into a tree. You know, they're meant to make a lot of lures are meant to catch anglers and not fish. So I have a box full of lures, as you can see over here, and I use about 2 of these. See all those? That's a whole box that I could possibly have to go through before I catch one fish. A couple weeks ago I did that, and I don't know. Let me try it one more time and I'll wrap it up for you guys. That was another good cast. Practice your cast. See? Good example. It's not the fish I was wanting to catch. However, it proves my point that this worm is a go-to lure of mine. It'll catch big and small fish. The one I missed a minute ago I think was a little bigger, probably this one's daddy, but that's how it goes. It was too little to really demonstrate how to work a fish. See, if this was a big fish, I was going to keep him out of all this brush. If he goes into the brush, he's going to rub it off. He's going to he'll for sure going to break your line off and break the hook, no doubt about it. And it's bad for the fish. You don't want to have the hook stuck in their mouth. And this is another example of how to have some good needle nose pliers when you catch a small fish with a big hook. It really helps. This is a baby largemouth bass. See, that made it really easy. And he's small. A good tip for you guys is fish, they got a protective coating. If you've ever touched one, they've got grease on them. That keeps germs and bacteria from growing on their skin. A lot of times when you catch one, you'll see it scarred up. That's not necessarily a scar. That could be bacteria from someone touching it, and it rubbed that coating off, and when they get thrown back in the water, it's a protective coating, like you put sunscreen on to keep sunburn off your skin. That's exactly what it is. See, I'm not touching him at all. I want to hold him by his mouth and throw him right back in the water. Also, you want to let him ease back in. They can suffer from shock if the water's too cold. So you ease him in, he should swim right off. There he goes. I hope I demonstrated some good techniques to catch a fish.